Have you ever stopped to think about what good credit actually means?
Hmm.
Like you're paying your bills on time.
Right.
You might even have a decent credit score.
Yeah.
But are you really in control of your finances?
That's a good question.
Today,
Okay.
we're going to kind of turn things upside down a bit
Okay.
when it comes to how we usually think about credit.
Okay.
And we're going to look at how something that's often seen as negative, like bankruptcy,
Right.
can actually be a step towards a healthier financial future.
Interesting.
Oh.
It's interesting how often people think good credit
Yeah.
just means making minimum payments.
Yeah.
But as Peter Francis Geraci explains in the complete book on bankruptcy,
Yeah.
it goes much deeper than that.
For sure.
Chapter 12 of that book really gets into this.
Yeah, it's a great chapter.
Yeah.
And the book uses this analogy of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.
Oh, yeah?
Can you explain that a little bit for our listener?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. It's a powerful image, right?
Yeah.
It shows how so many people get stuck in this cycle of juggling debt,
Right.
just moving money around
Right.
without actually dealing with the root of the problem.
Yeah.
They might feel like they're staying afloat,
They're treading water.
Yeah, but they're slowly sinking.
Okay.
It's like being stuck in financial quicksand.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
And I think that really highlights how important it is
Yeah.
to understand what lenders are actually looking for.
For sure.
Because it's not just about whether you make your payments, is it?
No, it's not.
There's more to it.
Yeah, lenders are looking at your whole financial picture.
Right.
They're thinking about your income,
Yeah.
how much debt you already have,
Uh-huh.
and even what you own that they could use as collateral.
So like your house or your car.
Exactly.
Wow.
They're trying to figure out if you're really able to repay,
Okay.
not just if you're willing to make those minimum payments.
So someone could be like really good about paying their credit card bills every month.
Yeah.
But if their debt keeps growing
Yeah.
and their income isn't growing at the same rate,
Right.
that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a big red flag for lenders.
I see.
Yeah, and that's where bankruptcy comes in.
Okay.
A lot of people think of it as this financial disaster,
Right, like the end.
like a sign of failure.
Yeah.
But the complete book on bankruptcy presents it differently.
Okay.
It suggests that bankruptcy can actually be a chance to reset,
Okay.
not a total ruin.
That's a big difference.
It is.
So how can bankruptcy be a tool for rebuilding?
Well, the book lays out 3 ways it can improve your creditworthiness.
Okay. I'm listening.
First, it can help you be better able to repay
How?
by getting rid of unsecured debts, like credit card debt and medical bills.
Okay.
Your debt-to-income ratio gets better,
I see.
which makes you a less risky borrower for lenders.
It's like clearing out the clutter to make a more stable foundation. Okay, what's the second point?
The second thing is that it can improve your credit history.
Really?
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
If you already have negative marks on your credit report,
Let's
like
see.
late payments, collections, judgments,
Right.
bankruptcy helps to wipe out those debts.
So they're not dragging your score down anymore.
That's the idea.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Right.
Getting rid of the things that were holding you back.
Exactly.
Okay, this is interesting.
And the third point is about collateral.
Okay, how does that work?
So lenders might ask for more collateral after a bankruptcy,
Okay.
but they're often more willing to work with someone who has a clean slate
Because
because there's less risk of other creditors coming after your assets.
I see.
It's about rebuilding trust and showing you can manage debt responsibly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and the book gives some real-world examples of how people rebuild credit after bankruptcy,
Like what?
like secured credit cards.
Okay.
That's where you put down a deposit as collateral, and that lets you build a positive payment history gradually.
So it's like a way to prove you can handle credit responsibly.
Exactly.
What other examples does the book give?
Auto loans are a common one.
Okay.
The book says that a lot of people can qualify for auto loans pretty soon after bankruptcy,
Really?
especially if they have a steady income.
That's interesting.
And believe it or not, even mortgages.
Wait, really?
Yeah, there are stories in the book of people getting mortgages within a few years of filing,
Wow.
sometimes even while they're still in a Chapter 13 repayment plan.
I would not have expected that.
It might seem counterintuitive,
It does.
but lenders, like the clarity that bankruptcy provides,
In what way?
they know that old debts have been dealt with,
Right.
so there's less risk of other creditors interfering.
So it's not just about wiping the slate clean.
Right.
It's about making things more predictable
Yeah,
for both the borrower and the lender.
exactly.
But of course, there's a lot of misinformation out there about bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The book warns about internet scams.
Right.
And those misleading websites that try to scare people away from filing.
Yeah.
It really emphasizes the importance of getting advice from a qualified bankruptcy attorney,
Absolutely.
like the experts at Geraci Law,
Yes.
who can give you advice that's specific to your situation.
Exactly tailored advice.
Right, because there's so much noise out there.
Yeah,
It's crucial to get accurate information from a reliable source.
for sure.
And the book actually shares a really interesting story about a couple named Joan and Marty.
Oh, yeah.
That illustrates this point perfectly.
I remember them.
So tell me about Joan and Marty.
Well, they own their home and seem to be managing their bills.
Okay.
But underneath, they were really struggling with credit card debt.
It's like how things can look fine on the outside,
Yeah.
but there's a storm brewing beneath the surface.
Exactly.
So what happened when they reached out to Geraci Law?
Well, Geraci Law helped them explore their options and ultimately guided them through the process of filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
So were Joan and Marty able to keep their home,
Yes, they were.
even after filing for bankruptcy?
Yes, the book explains that they were able to get rid of their overwhelming credit card debt
Wow.
while keeping their car and all of their possessions.
That's incredible.
It is.
It really shows that bankruptcy isn't always about losing everything.
Right.
It can be about gaining control
Yeah,
and building a more secure future.
exactly. And that's where a resource like Geraci Law's free credit counseling course can be so helpful.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
It's available at infotapes.com.
Okay.
And it can be really valuable for anyone who wants to learn more about credit debt in bankruptcy.
Even if they're not thinking about filing.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
It's all about empowering people with knowledge
Right.
so they can make smart decisions about their financial well-being.
I love that.
Yeah,
This conversation has really shed some light on bankruptcy.
it has.
And it's challenged how we think about what good credit really means.
For sure.
But there's still so much more to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited to dive deeper into some of these nuances with you and our listener
I am too.
in the next part of our conversation.
Sounds good.
We were just talking about Joan and Marty
Right.
and how they were able to get some relief
Yeah.
from all that credit card debt
Uh.
through bankruptcy.
It's amazing.
Their story is in the complete book on bankruptcy.
Yes.
And it's a great example of how this process can really offer a fresh start.
It really is.
But I'm curious,
Yeah.
for someone who might be in a similar situation,
Okay.
what are the first steps they should take?
Well, it's totally understandable to feel overwhelmed
Right.
when you're dealing with a lot of debt and you don't know where to turn.
Yeah, it can feel impossible.
Peter Francis Geraci really emphasizes
Yeah.
getting guidance from experienced professionals.
Okay.
He says, don't just rely on internet searches.
So, like, don't DIY it.
Right, or those do-it-yourself kits.
Okay.
They can actually lead to more confusion.
And more problems.
Exactly. And even harmful mistakes.
So finding a reputable bankruptcy attorney is really important.
It's key.
But how do you even start that process?
Right.
It can be intimidating.
Especially when you're already feeling vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where a firm like Geraci Law can be so helpful.
Okay, what do they do?
They offer free consultations,
Okay.
so you can talk about your specific situation.
In a safe space.
Right, and get personalized advice.
So you can ask questions,
Yeah.
understand your options,
Uh-huh.
and maybe feel a little less scared and uncertain.
Exactly. It's about having someone on your side,
Like an advocate,
right? Someone who understands bankruptcy law
and can guide you through it.
with compassion and expertise.
That makes a lot of sense.
And during that consultation,
Yeah.
they can help you figure out the best way to move forward.
So what does that look like?
Well, for example, they'll explain the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of confusion about that.
There is.
Can you break it down for our listener?
Sure, in simple terms. Chapter 7 bankruptcy
Okay.
is often called liquidation bankruptcy.
Okay.
It lets you get rid of most unsecured debts,
Like,
credit cards and medical bills.
okay.
And it happens pretty quickly.
So what about Chapter 13?
Chapter 13 is a reorganization plan.
Okay.
It's for people with a steady income
Right.
who want to catch up on missed payments
Uh-huh.
or restructure their debts
Okay.
while keeping their assets.
So it's about finding the right approach for each person's situation
Yes, finding the path that aligns with their goals.
and their ability to repay.
Exactly. And a good bankruptcy attorney
Yeah.
can help you figure out which chapter is best for you.
And they can talk about specific assets, too,
Yes, like your home or car.
and how bankruptcy might affect them.
Exactly.
That's why that initial consultation is so important. It clears things up
Right?
and helps dispel those myths about bankruptcy
Those misconceptions.
Yes.
It's about giving people the right information.
so they can make good decisions.
Informed decisions about their financial future.
Now, earlier we talked about how bankruptcy can actually improve your credit over time.
We did.
Could you explain that a little more?
Sure, a lot of people think bankruptcy ruins your credit forever.
Right.
But as we discussed, it can actually help
Oh,
by getting rid of those debts that are already hurting your score.
okay.
And with a fresh start and a plan,
Yeah.
you can start rebuilding your credit responsibly.
So it's not a quick fix,
No,
but a long-term strategy.
for financial recovery.
I like that.
And the book talks about that rebuilding process.
Does it give specific advice
It does. It offers practical advice.
on how to establish good credit habits after bankruptcy?
Exactly.
What are some of those key strategies that Peter Francis Geraci recommends?
He really stresses budgeting
Okay.
and living within your means.
It sounds simple,
It does.
but it's so important
It's the foundation.
of financial stability.
Yes. He also recommends looking into secured credit cards.
We talked about those earlier.
They did.
As a way to show you can use credit responsibly.
Right. And to start building that positive payment history.
And I imagine he also talks about being patient
He does.
and persistence.
Yes. It takes time and effort to rebuild credit.
It's not going to happen overnight,
No, it requires consistency.
like making payments on time,
Uh-huh.
keeping your debt low,
Yes.
and avoiding those impulse purchases.
Exactly. Those can really set you back.
So it's a journey,
It is.
not a sprint,
Right. It's about building a healthy relationship with money.
and making choices that support your long-term well-being.
Well said.
I like that.
Bankruptcy can be a fresh start,
Yes,
but it's important to see it as a stepping stone.
not the finish line.
Exactly. It's an opportunity to create a more sustainable path.
But you have to stay committed.
Yes. And keep paying attention to your financial habits.
Now, before we move on,
Okay.
I want to go back to something we talked about earlier,
Oh,
the misinformation about bankruptcy online.
oh yeah.
Can you talk more about the dangers of relying on the internet for advice on something so complicated?
It's really important to be careful.
Okay,
The internet can be great for general information,
right.
but when it comes to bankruptcy, there's a lot of bad advice out there.
Like what?
There are tons of websites that promise quick fixes,
Okay.
like they can eliminate your debt overnight.
Sounds too good to be true.
It usually is.
And if you believe those promises,
You could end up making costly mistakes.
that could hurt you financially.
Yes, and make your problems even worse.
So remember, bankruptcy law is complex,
It is.
and it's different in every state.
That's right.
So getting personalized advice from a qualified attorney is crucial
Absolutely. They can help you cut through all the noise
and give you accurate information.
based on your specific situation.
That's what sets a firm like Geraci Law apart,
They have a team of experienced attorneys
who are dedicated to helping people navigate this process.
with integrity and compassion.
I love that they focus on the human element.
They do.
They understand that every bankruptcy case is a real person.
With real challenges.
Exactly.
And their commitment to education is amazing.
Like with their free consultations,
Yes, and their credit counseling course.
which is available at infotapes.com,
Right. They want to give people the knowledge they need
to make informed decisions.
about their financial future.
It shows they're not just about processing cases.
No, they're about helping people rebuild their lives.
This has been an incredibly insightful discussion.
He has.
We've really challenged some of those common misconceptions about bankruptcy.
Sure.
And we've highlighted how important it is to get professional guidance.
Especially when you're dealing with financial difficulties.
We've covered a lot today.
We have.
But I'm eager to hear more about Joan and Marty's story
Okay.
and how their experience can help others
Yeah.
who are facing similar challenges.
I'm happy to share more about that.
So we've been talking about how bankruptcy can be a path to financial recovery.
Right.
And Joan and Marty's story from the complete book on bankruptcy is a great example.
Yes, a powerful one.
They were able to keep their home
Mm-hmm.
and most of their possessions
Right.
while getting relief from all that credit card debt.
It shows that bankruptcy isn't always about losing everything.
Exactly.
Their story is really inspiring.
It is.
It proves that bankruptcy can be a turning point.
Yeah.
A chance to get back in control.
And build a more secure financial future.
Yes, but what's really interesting about their case
What's that?
is that they were able to do all of this while still owning their home.
That's a big deal for a lot of people.
It is.
The fear of losing their home is often what stops them from even thinking about bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
So what can we learn from Joan and Marty
Okay.
that might give others hope?
Well, Peter Francis Geraci explains that in Chapter 7, Bankruptcy.
Which is what Joan and Marty filed.
Right. You're allowed to keep certain property.
Okay, what kind of property?
It's called exempt property,
Okay.
and it includes things like your home, your car, your personal belongings.
So it's not like they take everything you own,
No, there are limits.
up to a certain value.
Exactly.
So there are protections in place
Yes.
to help people keep a basic standard of living,
Exactly. And a good bankruptcy attorney.
like the ones at Geraci Law.
Right. They can help you understand these exemptions
Okay.
and make sure your essential assets are protected.
Throughout the whole process.
That's right.
That kind of guidance is so valuable.
It is, especially when you're dealing with something as complex as bankruptcy.
It's like having someone in your corner
Yes, an advocate.
who can help you make smart decisions.
And protect your interests.
Joan and Marty's story really shows how important it is to get that professional help early on.
Yes. They tried to handle their debt on their own at first. It just created more stress and financial strain.
It's easy to fall into that trap.
It is. People try to do it themselves out of pride or fear,
Right.
but it can actually make things worse.
And delay the process.
Yeah, exactly. Reaching out for help can be the best thing you can do.
It's a sign of strength.
Not weakness.
And as Joan and Marty's story shows,
Right.
it can lead to a better outcome.
Their story also highlights the emotional impact of debt.
On people and families.
It can be really tough.
They were successful professionals,
They were,
homeowners.
yes, seemingly doing everything right. But they had this huge financial burden.
That was weighing them down.
Debt can be very isolating.
It can.
People often keep it a secret because they're ashamed.
Which makes it hard to ask for help.
Yes, but the complete book on bankruptcy reminds us that financial struggles are common.
They are more common than we think.
And there's no shame in getting help when you need it.
We need to break down the stigma around bankruptcy.
I agree.
It's a legal tool
Yes,
designed to help people get back on their feet.
not a sign of failure.
Geraci Law really gets that.
They do.
They treat their clients with respect and dignity.
Yes, and guide them through the process with empathy and expertise.
It's nice to hear about a law firm that prioritizes the human side of things.
They understand that behind every case is a person.
Facing a tough situation,
And their commitment to education and empowerment is amazing.
like their free consultations
Yes, and their credit counseling course.
at infotapes.com.
They're dedicated to giving people the knowledge and resources they need.
To make good decisions about their financial future.
It's clear that they're not just about processing cases.
Right.
They're about helping people rebuild their lives.
Joan and Marty's story is a great example of that.
Yes, they went from feeling overwhelmed and stuck,
Right.
feeling empowered and hopeful,
They were able to move forward
with a sense of relief.
and focus on their well-being,
It's a powerful reminder that there's always a way forward.
even when debt feels impossible.
Bankruptcy can be hard,
It can.
but with the right guidance and support,
It can lead to positive change.
it's about changing your perspective
From seeing bankruptcy as an ending,
to seeing it as a beginning,
a fresh start,
a chance to break free from debt.
and create a more secure future.
That's a message we need to spread
Yes, give people hope.
and empower them to take control of their finances.
This has been such a great conversation.
It has,
We've really challenged some of those common ideas about credit and bankruptcy.
for sure.
And we've talked about how important it is to seek professional guidance.
When you're dealing with financial difficulties.
Before we wrap up,
Okay.
I just want to remind everyone,
This content is for informational purposes only.
it's not legal advice.
This is considered attorney advertising.
Hey,
Past results don't guarantee similar outcomes.
so
Just listening to this doesn't create an attorney-client relationship.
with Geraci Law or any of its attorneys,
The information we've discussed is general.
it might not apply to your specific situation
So if you want personalized advice,
about your finances or bankruptcy options.
you should talk directly to a qualified attorney.
That's the best way to get guidance for your unique circumstances,
Geraci Law offers free consultations.
to help you make informed decisions.
Contact them today to learn more.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into credit and bankruptcy.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, knowledge is power,
It is.
and there's always hope for a brighter financial future.
Absolutely.